Why is the European Super League shaking up the world of football? Today, we're going on a deep dive to understand why this league is so controversial. It's just going to take me 5 minutes to explain the purpose of the league, the legal battle, and the proposed format. So with that being said, sit back, relax, and let's get started. So the purpose of all of this nightmare can be explained in one word.
Money!
Yes, money, but money for whom exactly? So here's the thing, there is a giant income disparity between the Premier League and all the other national leagues. The Premier League nets almost twice as much as the second highest earner. 11 teams out of the top 20 biggest earners are from the Premier League. So the alleged purpose of the European Super League is to reduce that income gap. But why is closing that income gap so important to football? Well, European teams outside of the Premier League are facing giant financial issues. An ongoing cycle has formed that could be detrimental for these leagues, and it looks something like this. So the Premier League lures in viewers who would otherwise watch other leagues, thereby generating more income. And by generating more income, the Premier League has access to better players because they're able to pay them more. In fact, out of Europe's top 5 leagues, the Premier League was responsible for 48% of the money spent last transfer window. By buying top-tier players, more viewers become interested in watching the Premier League, and the cycle goes on. This is why giant teams like Barcelona are in danger of going bankrupt. And to add more fuel or oil to the fire, Arab countries are injecting massive amounts of money to the Premier League because that's where everybody's watching. So the organizers had this in mind when creating the European Super League. The problem is that the European Super League will not close a financial gap. It will actually make it worse. I will expand on this after I explain the format of the league. But for now, let's go through the court case. This is Jean Louis DuPont. He's the lawyer that was hired to represent the side of the European Super League. Back in 2021, the idea of the European Super League was started. But FIFA and UEFA announced that they will ban players who were involved with the European Super League, so the legal battle started.
Fight!
So DuPont filed a motion in the Commercial Court number 17 in Madrid, and in this motion he argued that UEFA and FIFA must immediately stop banning players who wish to participate in the European Super League. He argued that these punishments broke the EU law. So here, let me explain. The EU law was designed to uphold and maintain a strong internal market between the member countries. Because by having a strong internal market, member countries will prosper economically and it reduces the chances for them to engage war with each other. Therefore, the EU law has a number of mechanisms that help maintain a healthy internal market. And these are the mechanisms that help the argument of the European Super League. So the first one is free movement. This ensures the free movement of products and capital among the member countries. And the second one is competition law. Article 101 of the competition law prohibits agreements that have as their object the restriction, prevention, or distortion of competition, aka creating cartels. And Article 102 prohibits dominant companies, aka UEFA, to abuse their dominant position. So based on the EU law, the court ruled that the punishments that FIFA and UEFA were imposing were unlawful. Now that we know about the court case, let's go through the proposed format of the league. There will be 3 different leagues: the Star, the Gold, and the Blue League. Think of it like this. UEFA also has 3 tiers in their leagues. Tier 1 will be the Champions League, Tier 2 will be Europa League, and the Tier 3 would be the Confederations League. But there will be some differences. For example, there will be a total of 64 participants across all 3 leagues as opposed to the 72 UEFA currently has. The Star and the Gold League will have 16 teams divided into 2 groups of 8. But the Blue League will have 32 teams divided into 4 groups of 8. The league is proposed to play from September to April, and the games will be in the middle of the week. Each team will play a total of 14 games, 7 home and 7 away. So this is how the knockout stage will work. Now, remember that these are all different leagues. So the top 4 in each group in both the Star and Gold League, and the top 2 from each group in the Blue League will qualify to the quarterfinals. Both quarter and semifinals will be 2-leg knockout rounds, and the final will just be 1 game in neutral ground. Here's a very interesting aspect of the league. There will be promotions and relegations. The bottom 2 teams in the Star League will be relegated to the Gold League, and the 2 finalists in the Gold League will be promoted to the Star League, and the same goes for the other leagues. 20 teams for the domestic leagues will come into the Blue League to replace the bottom 20. Here's an aspect of the league, and I don't know how I feel about it. A team can stay on the European Super League despite how they perform in their domestic league, just as long as they finish at least second to last in their European Super League group. So here, let me explain that. Remember when I said only the last place in the groups of 8 get relegated in the European Super League? Well, let's assume that Chelsea is on the Star League and they finish 7th. And let's assume they finish 10th in the Premier League. They will be able to stay in the Star League. Meanwhile, let's assume that Aston Villa wins the Premier League. Well, they will have to start in the Blue League. So in a way, bigger teams are somewhat safe in the European Super League. It will be really hard for them to get knocked out. And this leads me to the conclusion. This league will not close the financial gap between the Premier League and all the other leagues. It will only make it worse. The only ones that would benefit is the big teams outside of the Premier League. For example, big teams like Real Madrid, Barcelona and Bayern will always stay in the European Super League and they will continue to make money. But teams like, for example, Osasuna or other small teams in the other leagues that's not from the Premier League are going to get destroyed. So it's like this. These teams will make a ton of money in the European Super League and these teams will not. So now when they compete in the domestic league, since these teams are making all the money, these teams have no chance of going up. So it will be the same teams over and over and over again. There might be a year when a team comes out of nowhere and starts beating teams, but this concept makes it harder for that to happen. In fact, not only will it become more difficult for small teams to compete in domestic leagues, but they could go bankrupt. A KPMG report revealed that La Liga would lose 55% of its revenue in the creation of the Super League. It seems to me that the people who are pushing for this league to get started are not thinking about football, they're thinking about making money. The issue that I have with this league is only the big teams will prosper and the small teams will get fucked even more. As of now, there is not enough teams that want to join the European Super League, so it looks like a no-go for now. These are the teams that oppose the European Super League. And on top of everything, remember that the Champions League format will change starting next year. Click here if you want to know everything about the new format. So comment your thoughts on the European Super League below, and thank you for watching, and until next time.